dear readers, it's Tidbit Tuesday yet again, and this time around I decided to talk a little bit about Magick, which, yeah, should probably have been yesterday on Magic Monday, but we're going to do it for Tidbit Tuesday. A little bit about the magic in the world of Kore. You may notice in reading a lot of the Tome series books or the Seer's War that the term arcanist is used quite often. Arcanist is just a general term for anybody that uses magic. A witch, a wizard, a sorcerer, they're all arcanists, practicing the arcane arts. You have, thus far in the books that have been written, you have sorcerers like Morgan in the Seer's War. Sorcerers are people born with magic in their blood, and it manifests itself uniquely to each sorcerer or sorceress. For example, using Morgan again, her sorcery manifests itself as purple flames, but she can do a lot of things with them. She can create shields and ignite people and do all sorts of funny things. Of course, there's wizards. And naturally, the first one that comes to mind is Zoroastes from the Tome series. Wizards, of course, are people that have learned their magic. They gain power by studying spells and rituals and charging them either into items like staffs or rods, or simply by committing them to memory from their spell books. You have mages. Mages get mentioned quite a lot. Mages are people that study a particular aspect of the natural world and master it. For example, many times on ships they have wind and water mages because they work together and can propel the ships. There's other elemental mages, of course, fire mages and earth mages. But there's also blood mages, death mages, even celestial mages. It's just a matter of practicing the particular arcane art dedicated to a particular part of the natural world. You have archmages, which you get to meet a little bit of in Sea of Sands, Book 2 of the Tome series, because they're specifically in the employ of the human kingdom of Sorn. These people are specialists in arcane energy, arcane life force. So they excel at controlling a battlefield by arcing the life force of their enemies into their fallen allies and keeping them animated, kind of like puppets on strings. Not a very pleasant group of people. You have witches, of course. You meet a lot of those in both the Tome series and the Seer's War. Witches like Ywain, Marceline, Egan, to name a few, are masters of the elements of the natural world as a balance. They have mastered all 5 points, all 5 elements of the natural world, which of course are earth, fire, air, water, and spirit. And they keep them in a balance in their usage. Witches all draw from the same source. They all, what they call, draw from the same well. So the trick about being a witch is that you can use your power against another witch, but the problem is, because you're both drawing from the same well, it'll come back right back at you. So it's unique for witches to fight, such as you see in Zakin, Book 1 of the Tome series, when Ywain and Marceline are fighting. You have high magic, you have, which is the highly ritualized ceremonial magic of the elves. That gets touched on a little bit in the Seer's War, but you don't get to see too much of it yet. You're supposed to catch that yet in there. You have what I call the mancies. You have necromancy and shadowmancy, which you come across mostly in the Tome series. Necromancy is, of course, the raising of the dead. Shadowmancy is a similar practice, but with shadows and darkness in the presence of light. basically the Mancies, and it can be applied to pretty much anything, is affecting one's will onto something that would normally be immovable, like a dead body or shadows. Necromancy, of course, is strictly a learned practice. Shadowmancy, which is more common among the Tien, which are a shadow-bound race to begin with, is something that individuals are born with, and the control is what's learned. Even though there are rumors that it can be learned, so whether or not that's true, actually I don't know. We'll find out together. Magic in and of itself is neutral. It doesn't know what you're doing. It's just there. Black magic and white magic, which, again, going back to the witches and Ywain and Marceline, the Ywain, of course, is a white witch and Marceline is a black witch. It's in the intent. Black magic, whether it's witchcraft or mages or sorcerers, whatever kind of arcanist the person happens to be, if it's black magic, it's with the intent to do harm or inflict your will onto someone else. In other words, it's not good. White magic, of course, is used to help or to protect, and when the two come into contact, of course, you have sometimes explosive situations. Again, using Ywain and Marceline, they're becoming quite the example today. But that's because they're the epitome of what it's like for two witches to end up fighting, but also the balance and counterbalance of black and white magic and the use of the natural worlds and the balances of the 5 elements and everything. There are, of course, dark magics, which would be like your archmages. The magic itself is considerably profane. You have devilry, which is what the Diabliere and the Seers War is using. Devilry is basically someone who sells their soul to a devil in exchange for power, for whatever reason. And of course, demonic magic, which is what Amias uses in the Tome series, is someone who learns and performs demonic rituals and spells to gain power by bargaining with a demon, often to accomplish a task, because demons tend to be, they're creatures of chaos, but they love to just manipulate things. And of course, the ultimate reason would be to obtain some sort of prize. In Amias' case, he's bargained with the demon destruction to open the gates to Abaddon onto the material realm in exchange for immortality. There's also, the typical variations, like certain circumstances will cause a person to have a magic of some kind. And of course I'm talking about Neela, the Starblessed Centaur in the Tome series. Because of the circumstances of her birth, not only is she what you would call a very, very powerful Shadowmancer, but she's also Starblessed, which means she can draw on the power of the 15 fixed stars for all sorts of goodies. What they are, well, you'll find out in Book 3 of the Tome series, I promise, which is almost done. Almost. Sort of. Believe me, I will definitely let you know when it is officially done, and I will keep you up to date on the progress with my beta readers and the editing and all that fun stuff. And I think I'm done this week. I will see you next week. Bye.